Sometimes humans sign up for some experiments and just don't make it because they don't know what they sign up for.
It's terrifying.
Well, I hope you make it. Hello, I'm Marina with Startup Human. Today we have a guest, and the guest is Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hello, how are you? It's nice to see you.
But I'm really excited to have you. I just want to confirm beforehand that we never met before in person. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not trained in psychology. This is true, right?
No, I took maybe three classes in college, and I actually dropped one of them. So I would say that I'm not well trained in psychology.
Okay. So you're just a normal human. This is good.
Just normal human, not a robot. I can confirm.
So that's why I'm going to ask you to confirm your humanity.
Oh,
Describe yourself in a nutshell.
myself in a nutshell. Oh man, I guess I'd say, I'm in a nutshell. Get me out of here. I don't know. That's a good one. I like basketball. I like my family. I like my dog. That's pretty much it. I'm pretty boring.
Oh no, we like
So,
that. I like that. Okay, so
oh, great.
you're very human. Okay, that's nice. Thank you so much for volunteering to
Yeah.
participate in this experiment. Did you know it was an experiment?
I did not. No, that sounds a little laboratory. I expected you to have a lab coat and little stuff on. Man.
I know we change our methods nowadays, but you see, I enticed you to participate, saying that there will be some comedy. Maybe you'll get your own show if you're very funny. But in reality, it's all about psychology. See, I'm trying to involve more humans in trying different things, and as you know, I'm a big fan of Black Mirror
Mhm.
episodes, sci-fi. Sometimes humans sign up for some experiments and just don't make it because they don't know what they sign up for.
It's terrifying.
Well, I hope you make it. And
Well,
just
I just want to be sure this isn't like a two people enter and only one leave situation, is it? Because I could just drop the call and we'll all be safe.
no, it's more humane. But I just
Okay.
want to tell you again, just in case, your sacrifice is very appreciated for the well-being of humanity. So thank you in advance
Great. Thank you. Very reassuring.
for the warning. I know. Okay, so this call is about how to interest humans in healing themselves, psychologically speaking, specifically those who have no problems, and if they do have problems, they want to solve them on their own. Have you met people like that before?
Well, I think that's most people I know.
Okay.
I mean, like a lot of my friends, a lot of people I know, they'll get the psychologist, a session, therapy type thing.
Uh-huh.
But I think everybody's got problems. I don't think there's no there's
Yeah,
no
that's the
denying
beginning.
that.
Yeah, we
So
acknowledge that we have some problems. This is
yeah.
true. So, since we're doing it with you today, do you have any problems that you're okay maybe sharing with us right now?
Oh, that's a good question. There's nothing overwhelming.
Okay, good.
I think it's just kind of probably standard issues, just relationships with people, dealing
Uh-huh.
with frustrations, and probably, there's always self-doubt, I feel.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, those would be
Okay.
the big key ones.
Sure. That's a good start. So, because we're trying to maybe help people who are watching this video on how to, um, ask for help or dig a little bit deeper, right? Get some answers out of things that you mentioned right now.
Mhm.
Which maybe problem has the most significant or strongest emotional response from you when you think about it?
I guess it would probably be internal doubt would be the thing. There's a lot of things that I feel are out of my control, which is it's okay. I can I can manage it, but like I also, I'm not afraid. At least I don't feel I'm afraid to reach out when I do need help. So
Okay.
yeah.
So when you say internal doubt, is that
Mhm.
more about your professional relationships or personal relationships?
Oh, probably both. Professionally, there's always a feeling of imposter syndrome until you start doing something and you're like, I'm actually very good at this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine. And then with external relationships, it's always probably I wouldn't say imposter syndrome there, but it's more like just I can't really put it into words, but you're never really sure what other people are thinking. I think that's kind of the best way to say it.
Okay, okay. What are the options for us
Sure.
to maybe to look at, right? Can you maybe verbally articulate the message of when you have maybe negative emotion about a situation? Like what is the message? Let's start with the message.
I'm I could probably do it the other way. I don't really know what the message is. I think generally the emotions that come are frustration and disappointment. And then if you're talking physically, it's fatigue. You get more
Right.
tired.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm not sure what exactly do you mean by the message that's
But
attached
the
to that?
message, so you know what we usually call it the limiting belief,
Okay.
but in general, it is a little voice inside you tells you something. Like, for example, you mentioned imposter syndrome, very familiar to me as
Sure.
well,
Yep.
especially when I work with something I'm not familiar with, when I'm not really great at it. I'm studying
Mhm.
and like little messages telling me, you're no good. You can't learn this. So,
Mhm.
there may be different messages. Do you think there is a little voice that, tells you something as well?
I think, well, when I was younger, I dealt with that more frequently.
Okay.
I would have those exact thoughts that you were saying. You're like, you're not going to be able to do this and this. But now that I've
Uh-huh.
gotten more experience, I think comes with confidence.
Uh-huh.
But also a lot of what I do now is being able to admit that's okay if I can't do that.
Yeah.
So like I have no problem saying, hey, that's not really my area, but let me pass this to Marina. I know she knows how to handle that.
Yeah.
So I think as I aged, some of that stuff's gotten easier for me. But
Uh-huh.
there's still, when something comes up that's new and you're not sure how to deal with it, yes, those exact thoughts always pop into your head, like, oh, how are you going to get through this one? Uh-oh, you should just leave.
Yeah, yeah,
you,
yeah.
you had a bad run here coming up. So yeah.
What would you say? The message is the situation is hopeless, or I am helpless, or I'm worthless. Like, what do you think?
For me particularly, it would generally say probably the situation is hopeless. That's usually what I get in, and then I start put the sleeves up, and then you say, okay, let's dig in. And for a long time, it still seems hopeless.
Oh, okay, okay. No, I
So,
like it. I like it. We're getting somewhere. We're getting
sure,
somewhere.
sure, yeah.
Would it be nice to get rid of this voice in your head and just feel more, optimistic, more hopeful?
Yeah, in general, I think it's important to try to power through and pass that voice and like kind of
Uh-huh.
mute it. And again, it's not really a confidence issue. It's more of a
Yeah.
learned experience and just perseverance, I guess is the right word. Trying to fight through that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it would certainly be beneficial if that voice was immediately accurate instead of having to earn it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I think some people want to get rid of it, they just don't know how. So that's why we're going
Sure.
to explore some ways. Would you consult anyone about it, about that particular question or issue?
I personally would. I have friends and other people that don't like doing that. They like to they I don't know how to describe it because it's just not how I'm wired. I guess that's kind of the thing is if I'm having an issue with somebody, I'd like to speak with them and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is
Hmm.
why. Can we resolve this? Can we move forward? At least professionally. In my personal life, sometimes there are people where I'm like, well, I mean, this is my personal life. I don't need to see this person if I choose not to. So
Oh,
I
okay.
just won't.
Okay, okay.
So that's like an option on some of those, but like, if it's like a family member or something like that, obviously you can't do that.
So, like, if you
Mhm.
wanted to maybe get some insights and more guidance, who would you consult? I mean, human, uh, AI, ChatGPT, right? Your dog.
Sure.
Who would you
Yeah,
who would you consult?
I consult my dog every day. He just doesn't listen. He doesn't care. He walks out of the room. It's very embarrassing. No, usually, I mean, I see a therapist once a month, so I bring up a lot of the issues with the therapists, which is kind of weird because they don't really. Sometimes they'll give you techniques, but sometimes they just listen, and you're like, oh, this is okay.
Not really helping, right?
That didn't do much for me. Therapist is usually my first person. My parents, I'll talk to them,
Mhm.
use their sage old wisdom. But yeah, those are probably the people I reach out to the most with
Okay.
that group, and then
Okay.
friends, of course. They friends are further down the list because it's usually an issue with one of them now. But yeah,
Okay, okay, no, it's nice. Yeah, chain of command.
yes, perfect.
Okay, so that voice, right? That little voice
Mhm.
that we all have. Some call it self-talk. Sometimes it is good. It's strong and it's helpful. Sometimes not. And when it's not, we call it the limiting belief, right? The role of the limiting belief is to protect us from
Okay.
something that we don't want to happen. And very often we already experienced before. A situation is hopeless, right?
Mhm.
When maybe you have this feeling, do you think that it comes back to some maybe situations in your childhood?
I've never thought that deeply on it, to be honest with you, but yeah, I mean, that's certainly, I think behaviors are learned, right? So that kind of tracks and makes sense that something in your childhood would affect the way that you act today.
And with, for example, if you had a situation, right, you felt like, I don't know, no matter what I tried, it's just hopeless. In those particular situations, when you were little, right, when you were a child,
Mhm.
there was a different explanation to what was happening. And you as a child just interpreted that this situation is really hopeless, no matter what.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, that was definitely when I was younger, I had different perceptions than I have today. And yeah, I would probably say when I was younger, I certainly thought more frequently, like, I don't know what to do. There's much more self-doubt, much more fear of doing things. How are people going to react? Stuff like that. So
So do you think it also came maybe from someone, or teachers or parents,
yeah,
siblings, telling you this message?
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think I can remember when I was young. Like I've always had a aversion to warheads, which are like those. They're like a candy. Well, real warheads as well, but specifically the candy is
Yeah, okay.
what I'm speaking about. It was like really hot or sour because I was yelled at by a teacher for taking
Uh-huh.
an extra one. So then I never, even to this day, like I remember when I see a warhead, I'm like, I don't like those. And I'm like, I actually don't remember if I like those or not. I just know I don't want to be yelled at for taking one. So
Oh, okay, okay,
so
okay.
something like that. Yeah, I mean, like I know that one specifically pops into my head there, and I'm sure there's others that I haven't scratched the surface on or am aware of. So
Yeah, so maybe you did something, you were punished, right, for that.
right. Yeah.
And yeah, maybe that's why how the message popped up in your head that doesn't matter what you do, it's hopeless.
Yeah.
Then what do you think now? Maybe is the intention of that message now that you're an adult, right? But it's still somewhere there. What is it trying to protect you from?
Getting my hand slapped when I try to reach for a warhead. That's
Okay.
the primary thing. But no, I think it's a fear of being told you're wrong, what you're doing is incorrect. That would probably be the underlying fear. I like being right because I'm right 90% of the time.
Oh, I'm surprised not 100.
Oh
Very
no, we
well.
leave 10%. My dog's right the other 10%. So
Okay. We would need solutions
sure.
to figure this out, that little message, right? Why is it behaving this way? Now you're an adult, and it's not about candies anymore, it's other things, right? Bigger things. What you could do, but you don't do, in order to feel maybe more confident and um, sure of your way, that the way you're doing it, it's right.
In that situation, there's a lot of times when I need clarity from somebody at least in a professional, I have no problem calling out my friends. Let's be clear, and they'll say that. If they say something I disagree with, I'm like, no, no, no. But like in a professional setting, if somebody kind of outranks you, sometimes they'll say something, and you're like, hey, can I get clarity? And they'll say something that doesn't really clarify it, but you're like, do I ask this again? No, I just won't say anything because in their mind they clarified it. But like the truth is, you should continue to ask for that assistance to make sure that you know what you're doing. It's one example I can think of off the top of my head that's
Mhm.
semi-similar, I hope. Maybe.
Okay, okay. So you think that to clarify the situation, right? If there's some kind of uncertainty, maybe to ask more how questions, right?
I think it's yeah, definitely more how, but also not being reluctant to if you didn't get the clarity you needed, not being reluctant to say, hey, I'm sorry, that didn't I didn't quite understand that. Can you break it down for me again? Like treat me like I'm five. That's what I love to say. Explain it to me like I'm five.
Nice, nice. I like that. What does it really mean to you? Like when you know that you completely understand the situation and you feel good about it. What is your criteria when you think about it? How does it look?
So like I've been primarily most of my career like doing project management style. So like I often think of swim lanes in my head. But just picture like three lanes kind of going up and down. But
I
in
like
my
that.
head, it's like if I understand it, I
Uh-huh.
drop it into this one swim lane. I'm like, great, that one's just gonna float all the way to the bottom. There's gonna be no issue. But then the other
Oh,
two swim lanes have, there's one with obstacles, and if it starts going in there, I get a little stressed out because it's like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then there's one that's a complete block, and if it drops in
oh.
there, I'm just like, okay, I don't, like now my goal is not like this has become a bigger project because I have to figure out how to get by this block as opposed to, um, just moving forward with the project. I can't move forward until that block is cleared. So.
What would motivate you, right,
Mhm.
to to ask more questions or to try something maybe new?
I think part of it I would, as we've been discussing it, I was thinking about it, and a part of it is this fear of not like the other person not thinking you're intelligent or you don't understand them type thing. And in
Mhm.
order to like, I don't know, it's been a nice discussion because now I'm just like, well, I don't care if they don't think I'm smart, I want to get the job done. So I'm just gonna, I should just say, hey, I didn't understand that. Please help me
Mhm.
further. Like that should be an easy thing, but like talking about it's easy. In real time it feels different sometimes. Like sometimes you're working with somebody either you admire or maybe the opposite. If you have a testy relationship with that person, you don't want to give any ground, that type of thing. So
What would motivate you to
mhm.
to not think about how people may react, to your question to clarify something, right?
That's a good question. I don't know what the motivation for me would be. Maybe if they gave me $100,000 raise, right? And ask all the questions.
A thought, maybe you think about something value that you have in your life when you think about it, all that makes no sense, all those doubts.
Uh, spite, no. um, uh, just resiliency for me. I just, I played a lot of sports when I was growing up,
Uh-huh.
and it was just that mentality of never back down, never give up.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter if you're losing by 30 or you're up
Uh-huh.
by 30, just keep going for it. So one of the issues where I work is like sometimes you have to escalate things, which is silly, in order to get somebody else to do something. And it's just like this feels frivolous. But
Uh-huh.
like I don't know what my motivation would be for overcoming the fears of
Mhm.
I wouldn't even say fears, but like overcoming the personality differences of some of the people I work with. Like that's generally where I run into issues, which is very infrequent. But if there is an issue, it's usually like, oh, I feel like this person isn't as passionate about this as I am, or they don't want to be doing this, so they're putting up roadblocks just for the sake of putting up roadblocks. And it's just really difficult for me to be like, okay, I don't like, especially in real time, to say I'm not sure how they want me to react to this.
What would cause you to stop it? to actually, not ask questions and kind of maybe like shut down.
If I see people that I know are extremely difficult to work with, I
Okay.
just I'll pull out and say this is not, it's not going to work if we continue down this path because XYZ. These are the reasons.
Hmm.
And that happens frequently. Not just my current job, but my previous job. That happened probably daily, which was extremely frustrating.
Yeah. But what would make you to continue working again?
Not my current job, but my previous one, where
Hmm.
we had deadlines that were daily at that job, so you didn't have a choice. You had to work with these people, or it wouldn't you wouldn't get the job done, and if you didn't get the job done, you'd lose sponsorships, contracts, things like that. So um, I think like that motivation was, I mean, for me, I guess it was the paycheck, but also like
Hmm.
I personally have a pride of saying I like to be good at my job. I like to make sure these things are successful. So like I think I guess pride is the best thing that would keep me pushing through and saying, okay, like let's do this, let's find a way to work together. But yeah, pride only goes so far. If nobody's forcing you to do something, the pride is like, yeah, just let this one die. It's fine.
Nice. Thank you for sharing with me all your inner thoughts and experiences. It was awesome. So now, what we were doing actually, when I asked you those questions, we were eliciting your hierarchy of values.
Yeah.
And specifically in this example, what could override some of your, inner thoughts or doubts?
In my hierarchy, I just want to be sure that pizza is number one because
Okay, where's your dog? Where's your dog standing in your hierarchy?
one B.
Okay, awesome. Good to know. That would help us with the upcoming questions. If you have a sense that, okay, that may be a difficult person to work with, right? Is there some kind of approach that we can use, right, to bring them on board that you're very proud of work you do? Is there a way to make them feel that, right, and also be,
Hmm.
more resilient in the process?
For me is just letting the person I'm working with know how much I respect them, how respected their opinion is, and that's why they're on said project. Um, yeah, I mean, like it's most of my strategy dealing with everything, which is one, just if you've ever seen the movie Roadhouse, legendary movie. No, it's not, but there's a point where the guy just says, "Be nice," and that's the entire thing. He tells all the bouncers, "You just need to be nice," and that's usually what I try to do. And then when I saw that movie, I was like, "This is weird that this terrible movie has my life philosophy," but
Oh, okay.
but I really enjoy it. So yeah, it's just being nice, telling people they're valued and appreciated. I feel like people just don't hear that enough.
Yeah, no, that's a good
That's
one.
usually
So
what works for me. So
yeah, telling them that you really respect them, you're proud of working with them, right?
one other strategy I use, which I've been taught, is when you see a situation, if it's a person or it's something and you're just like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's your first thought.
Mhm.
Is when you see that, even if you don't believe it, to just start saying, yeah, I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to talk with that person. And
Mhm.
then just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And eventually you're like, oh yeah, it's actually, who cares? It's not that bad. So yeah, it's just a mental trick of just shifting your entire perspective, like flipping it and just saying, no, like the thing that you like doing the least, try to do that the most. You don't have to be, as I've learned in my career, an expert at everything, right?
Mhm.
Um, and that's pretty much the key. What you're saying is ask those thorough questions, get as deep as you can. And what I'm taking away from this is even when it's uncomfortable and it's not the best scenario, like keep asking. Like you don't have to understand everything, and it's okay to want to learn and grow. Like otherwise, what's the point? You're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
wasting time. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I tell you from my own experience, I know that some people, and there's like a type, it's called the builder. that
Hmm.
they do need thorough steps. And the more thorough they are, the better they are in their job.
Yep.
And then even, I may sometimes wonder, why do you ask me those questions? And unnecessary, right? It's like,
Hmm.
um, I think they take pride in what they do, and because they're so thorough, they're so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree.
And now I have a last story to share with you and hear
Oh,
your
great.
opinions. So this past summer,
Hmm.
I stayed with a family in their house, and for several weeks, and they had a dog, but now
Oh.
I think that the dog had them. Uh, the dog was really mean.
Mm,
He had absolutely no manners, and he
mm,
was barking at everyone and the family when they were coming, when they were leaving. There was like really hard to predict any patterns. The dog had no idea he was mean. Okay.
mm.
And, however, in spite of the dog behavior, obviously he expected everyone to love him and provide all the
Yeah.
food and love and care, right? And walk him around. And, clearly the dog didn't know anything about personal development and improving himself.
Yeah. A very uneducated dog we're talking about.
Well, that may be true. Do you think that some humans behave just like the dog?
Oh, yeah.
With all their imperfections, right? They somehow they just expect everyone to accept them as is.
Mhm.
And what do you think? What would be the best way to maybe send a message?
Oh, that's well, to the humans.
Let's start with your dog. How would you change
Okay.
your dog if your dog behaved this way?
Well, my dog is extremely territorial, so when somebody comes up, he's barking and you cannot get him to stop. But it's, after speaking with people, it's a territorial thing. Like he feels he's protecting the home as part of the idea.
So you accept that quality in
I
him.
accept that, but I will still tell him to be quiet. And then it's risk reward. Like if I need him to be quiet and he's not being quiet for an extended period of time, I've taught him to be quiet. If I say hush, and I have a hand symbol, the signal that I'll give him, which is just that. I just go right across. I say hush, and he'll be quiet. And then he like sits down and he gets a little treat. So it's like
Oh,
like
okay,
a
okay.
treat reward. Yeah. So I don't think you can do that with people. I mean, you could try.
Well, I'm sure you can. It will be something else as a reward, right?
Could
Maybe
be,
not
yeah, yeah.
dog treat.
Um, Yeah, and like in fairness, I've met people as well that do act like that, and they're aware that they act like that, and they don't care, and they don't expect to be loved. They just have no problem. So it's always like, whoa. But like, yeah, in terms of like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of when they do something nice, you do something nice for them. But if they're doing something mean, you just don't respond. I guess that's kind of the equivalent of the dog idea, and how I train my dog, but I don't know if that would work, to be honest with you. What do you have? What suggestions do you have? Surely you've thought of this.
No, no, I'm asking you because the thing is this: there's a difference, right? Dogs are limited in their self-awareness,
Mhm,
and it's more about instincts. However, humans do have this awareness and knowledge by taking on feedback that we receive,
mhm,
right? For example, from our managers at work, from our family members, right? We do receive that maybe we have strengths and we have weaknesses, and we need to work on them if we
sure.
want to get some, I know, friends and love and care, right? Loving relationships, and
Mhm,
um, I think sometimes we do have this feeling, oh, I just don't want to do anything and I want to be loved as is, right? Will you love me like a dog?
yeah,
And I think that's the quality of humans to actually improve.
yeah, yeah. I like that analogy. That's I think people do want to improve. I would agree with that. My goal career is to be a writer, and to be a writer, you have to learn to deal with rejection very, very well, and
Yeah.
you get to learn a lot of people that don't do that. Like if you are in a writing group, for example, and they give you something and you provide
Mhm.
feedback, and their
Mhm.
response is like, oh, I can't believe you tore it apart. And it's like, oh, I mean, I could just tell you it's good if that's all you want. So they just, but it's kind of like what you were saying, where it's like they just think the response will be this is positive and everyone thinks it's great, and then they don't know how to react when it's not. So,
Yeah, but
yeah,
I think that also maybe it's the reward, right? When we think about the reward, that motivates us to get better. And for some people, it is more money. For some people, it is a
mm,
good quality relationship, right?
sure, yeah,
So when we focus that, when we visualize ourselves being happy and already having that, that
mhm,
would be big motivation for humans.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. That's great. I need you in my everyday life. I need you to be like just texting me these things and be like, ah, she's right. I'm gonna use that one today.
Well, I just want to thank you. It was very
Of course.
insightful, and I hope we all learn from this experience. For all the viewers, if you have any ideas on how humans can improve, how can Mike get rid of all his doubts, feel free to post comments. And any last thoughts, Mike?
No, I mean, I'll also take a good advice on people who do good beard trims. I've had bad luck in LA, so
Okay.
any advice people want to give is fine. I'm open to it. But yeah, thank you. This was lovely. I appreciate you having me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mike.